1. My name is Ethan Vance. In another life, my story with Chloe Lancaster began in college. After graduation, blinded by love, I gave up a position at my family's conglomerate to follow her. For 3 years, I was her shadow, her right hand at her family's company, Lancaster Corporation. Everyone whispered that I was just her glorified assistant, unworthy of the Lancaster name. 3 years in, we got engaged. I planned the perfect party, a surprise I'd spent months orchestrating. But just as the ceremony was about to begin, Chloe's phone rang. It was about Julian Reed, her so-called male best friend. He'd fainted from low blood sugar and was in the hospital. She threw a hasty "I'm sorry" over her shoulder and, ignoring all protests, left me standing alone, a public joke. We got married anyway, but Julian was a cancer we could never cut out. He inserted himself into every corner of our lives. Every date night, every vacation plan, he'd manufacture some crisis. One phone call, and Chloe would drop everything to run to his side. I tried to talk to her about it. She accused me of being petty, of being jealous. One night, after another fight, I was at home drinking. It was late when Chloe called, threatening divorce if I didn't come pick her and Julian up. I told her I'd been drinking and that I couldn't drive. She didn't believe me. I ended up driving drunk, swerving to avoid a semi, and plunged off a bridge and died. But fate, in its cruel wisdom, sent me back. Back to the engagement party, to the exact moment Chloe's phone rang. Watching the panic on her face, everything became crystal clear. If you care that much about your best friend, then by all means, spend this life shackled to him. Just don't drag anyone else down with you. This fiancé, I'm done with her this time. When Chloe turned to leave, I didn't hesitate. "Chloe," I said, my voice steady. "We're done." The familiar buzz of the party filled my ears. I blinked, my eyes struggling to focus on the brilliant crystal chandelier overhead. It cast a dizzying web of light across the room. The champagne flute in my hand was ice cold, and I watched the golden liquid tremble as my fingers shook. This was the engagement party. I scanned the opulent ballroom. Guests mingled, their faces painted with smiles of congratulations. It was all so familiar, it made my chest ache. The sharp chime of cell phone made me flinch. This scene, this exact moment was burned into my memory. Sure enough, Chloe, standing beside me, answered her phone. The color drained from her face. "What?" "Julian fainted." "Which hospital?" "I'm on my way." The urgency in her voice was a tone I'd never heard directed at me. Not in the 3 years since we graduated. I watched her frantically end the call, ready to bolt. She turned back to me, her perfectly made-up face etched with a practiced apology. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. Julian, I have to go see him. The party. We can reschedule." As she started to walk away, her heels clicking against the marble floor, a bitter laugh escaped my lips. I had planned this for months, even convincing my family to get on board. All to give her a night she'd never forget. In my last life, I'd foolishly tried to stop her. I pleaded, "Chloe, this is our night. All these people are here for us. Can't you send someone else? We can go together after the party." All it got me was a sharp rebuke. "How can you be so selfish? He's in a critical condition. I have to be there. I told you we're just best friends. Can't you be a little more mature and stop targeting him? Low blood sugar can be fatal if it's not handled properly. But this is our engagement party," I argued weakly, "and he's already at the hospital. The doctors will take care of him." "Enough, Ethan. It's just an engagement party. I told you I'll make it up to you. I'll throw you an even bigger one later. You need to get your priorities straight." With that, she had spun around and left me frozen in place, utterly humiliated. In that life, I waited all night for her to return. By morning, all I got was a picture of her asleep by Julian's hospital bed sent to me by a friend too. So, this time, I wouldn't stop her. Let them have each other. They deserved it. Surprisingly, after a few steps, she paused. My silence seemed to unnerve her. She turned back. "Ethan, why aren't you saying anything? Are you mad? I promise I'll make it up to you with an even better party." "Okay." Julian collapsed. "He's in the hospital. I really have to go." "Okay," I said calmly. "Go. You're okay with it? You're not mad." "I'm not mad," I said, the words tasting like freedom. "Julian is your best friend. You should go." "Oh, Ethan, you're the best. I knew you'd understand." I know this is my fault, but I swear I'll throw you the biggest engagement party ever to make up for it. A bigger party? Will there be one? And even if there were, what would stop Julian from ruining that one, too? There was no point. She started to turn again, but I spoke, my voice cutting through her relief. Chloe, don't bother rescheduling. She looked back, confused. Ethan, our engagement is the most important thing to us. A memory we'll cherish forever. Of course, we have to do it over. I promise. But Julian's situation is an emergency. We can talk when I get back. Okay. You know, it's the most important thing. Yet, you're leaving for another man. I mean, there's no need to reschedule because it's canceled. You could be with Julian guilt-free forever. Ethan, are you still mad? Can we please just talk about this when I get back? I promise I'll make it right. Julian really needs me. She turned and started running toward the door. Wait, Chloe. My voice rang out sharp and clear. If you walk out that door, you can keep walking. This engagement is over. The contract is void. We're breaking up. Are you sure you want to live with that decision? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. I had given her a choice, but I already knew which one she would make. She could never choose me over Julian. Chloe, halfway to the exit, spun around, her eyes wide with disbelief. Ethan, have you lost your mind? I told you Julian is in the hospital. I have to go. Don't you think you're being ridiculous? Then go, I said, my voice hollow. And don't ever come back. I gave you a choice. From this moment on, we have nothing to do with each other. Chloe stared at me, then glanced toward the waiting car at the curb. Without much hesitation, she sighed. Ethan, I know you're angry and I know this isn't fair to you, but Julian needs my help. Well, get back. I promise I'll give you a satisfactory answer. I'm sorry. Then, without another look, she was gone. I let out a bitter laugh. My parents, who had just arrived, were watching me with concern. I turned to face the crowd. Everyone, I said, raising my champagne flute and tapping it gently. The room slowly quieted, all eyes turning to me. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my engagement to Ms. Lancaster. I began, my voice even. However, as you can see, Ms. Lancaster has already left. Therefore, I regret to inform you that this engagement is canceled. A wave of gasps and murmurs swept through the hall. Chloe's parents looked horrified. I set down my glass. Ms. Lancaster and her male best friend, Mr. Julian Reed, share a bond that is truly special. As her fiancé, I would hate to stand in the way of true love. I smiled a cold, sharp thing. So, I'm officially announcing the end of our engagement. I wish them a lifetime of happiness together, and I hope you will all bear witness today. I finished, my voice ringing with finality. As of this moment, Chloe Lancaster and I are finished. We have cut all ties. Thank you. Chloe's mother rushed forward, grabbing my arm. What is the meaning of this? Chloe just went to the hospital to take care of her best friend. I cut her off coldly. Ma'am, are you really unaware of how close your daughter is with that man? I shook her hand off and strode out of the ballroom. Behind me, I could hear the shocked cries and the frantic, stammering explanations of Chloe's parents. None of it mattered anymore. Outside the main hall, a cool breeze hit my face. I took a deep breath, feeling a lightness I hadn't felt in years. In my last life, I had given everything for that relationship, and it cost me my life. This life, I was going to live for myself. In a private suite at the hotel, the atmosphere was thick with tension. My parents sat in the main armchairs while my sister Emily sat beside them. I took a seat to the side, my mind a whirl of shame and relief. I thought about how stubborn I'd been after the last engagement party, and I cringed. My mother broke the silence. Ethan, are you serious about breaking up with Chloe this time? Mom, Dad, I set my voice firm. I was a fool. I was completely spellbound. I'm truly done with her. From now on, I'm going to live for myself. I could feel the collective sigh of relief in the room. My father's eyes held a hint of pride. He clapped me on the shoulder. Ethan, we fully support your decision. You know, we never felt she was right for you. Today just proved us right. Honestly, that Chloe, my mother said, her voice laced with anger, she is so reckless. No regard for the bigger picture. Her behavior at the party tonight was a massive disappointment. Does she even care about you? Does she have any respect for you at all? My sister chimed in, her brow furrowed. I grieve, And even when you two were together, she was always ditching you for that Julian guy. It drove me crazy watching it. I managed a wry smile. I know you guys never approved. And deep down, I knew it too. I just couldn't let go. My father spoke with a grave tone. We know you genuinely loved her, son. But a relationship can't be a one-way street. What happened confirmed that she's not the one for you. Are you sure you're done? This isn't just you acting out in anger, is it? How could it be? Emily said, shooting me a pointed look. Things got so ugly tonight. Does my brother not have any pride? There's no way they're getting back together. She had no idea. In my last life, we actually did get back together. We got married. I met their gazes, my own resolve solidifying. This time, it's real. Chloe never truly cared about me. Everything that happened before wore me down. Being with her was agony. When she left tonight, it was like a switch flipped. I don't want to live in that pain anymore. My mother nodded, her eyes filled with sympathy. Good, as long as you understand. You're an amazing man. You'll have no trouble finding a better woman. Our family doesn't lack for anything, she continued. You'll meet someone who truly cherishes you. Someone who will be there for you through thick and thin. Emily leaned over playfully. Don't worry, bro. I'll screen them for you from now on. I'll find you an awesome sister-in-law. Her teasing made me smile, and some of the darkness lifted. All right, with you guys on my side, I feel a lot better. I'm going to put the past behind me and start over. My father smiled, relieved. That's my boy. We look forward. Your family will always be your strongest support. We'll start calling some of our friends, my mother added cheerfully. Set you up with a few nice girls. Tidy yourself up the next couple of days, and when we have some names, you can go meet them. Let's hold off on that for a bit, I said quickly. I'm not ready to date again just yet. All right, the meetings can wait, but we can still make some calls. So what are your plans now? I'm going to quit my job at Lancaster Corporation, pack my things, and start my own company. Any specific ideas? I want to launch a tech firm completely separate from our family's conglomerate. That way, it won't be tied to real estate, and we can avoid any negative public association. This wasn't a whim. Based on my past life, I knew I could make it a success. So, you want to go it alone, pull a Zuckerberg? My father asked, cutting straight to the heart of it. After all these years, I want to see if I have what it takes to run the company one day, I said. If I fail, you can always choose Emily as your successor. My father was silent for a moment. All right, he said finally. I fully support you, Dad. You could go build your tech company. I'll invest $50 million for a 45% stake. But he added, his voice firm, if you burn through that $50 million, you come straight back here and get ready to take over the family business. Deal. I didn't argue. I just nodded, my heart pounding with a new sense of purpose. The next afternoon, I went to the office to clear out my desk. Pushing open the door, I looked around the space I'd occupied for 3 years and felt nothing but emptiness. Mr. Vance, my assistant Sarah, stood nervously in the doorway. Are you really resigning? I nodded, handing her the resignation letter I'd already prepared. Please give this to Ms. Lancaster. After packing my personal effects into a cardboard box, I walked out of the Lancaster Court building. The sunlight was blindingly bright. I squinted, feeling lighter than I had in years. Back in my apartment, I opened a dusty vintage wooden box. It was filled with heart-shaped notes Chloe had written me back in college. Back then, she was the girl who'd bring me a cold sports drink after a basketball game, who'd deliver snacks when I was pulling an all-nighter in the library, who'd plan surprise birthday parties. I unfolded a few. Hey, did you get what the professor was talking about? Can you explain it to me after class, please? Another one read, that shirt you're wearing today looks amazing on you. And then there was the one that started it all. Ethan, I like you. Will you go out with me? How ironic. I emptied all the notes in the box into the trash can. The past was finally in the past. As night fell, my phone rang. Seeing the familiar name on the screen, I realized I'd forgotten to block her. I declined the call and was about to block the number when she called again. I answered. Ethan, why did you hang up on me? Chloe's voice was sharp. I need you to come pick me up. Julian and I are together. We need to talk. He wants to explain the misunderstanding. Ethan, I'm sorry, man. Julian's voice piped up in the background. This was all my fault. Yell at me. Hit me. Whatever. Just don't blame Chloe. You can't break up with her over this. How could it be your fault? Chloe coughed at him loud enough for me to hear. It's not your fault. Ethan wouldn't be that petty. There's again the moral blackmail, forcing me to be the bigger person, or else I was the petty, jealous bad guy. No need, I said flatly. We're broken up. Who you're with and what you do is no longer my concern. What did you say, Ethan? You dare say that again? Don't play these push-pull games with me. Take back what you just said, and I'll pretend this never happened. Yeah, Ethan, Julian chimed in. How can you do this to Chloe? Even if she... You two are idiots. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. For good measure, I blocked Julian's too. The world instantly felt quieter. I guess Chloe never really believed I would leave her. She thought I was just throwing a tantrum to force her to ditch Julian. I don't know how she found my new place, but she showed up several times, telling me she was willing to give me one more chance if I would just stop with my little games. All I had to do was apologize to her and Julian, and she would forgive me. We could go back to how things were. Dude, just give in. Julian told me on one of those visits, apologize to her. It's all my fault anyway. My body is just too weak. I'm sorry I got in the way. Ethan, I can even forgive you for unilaterally canceling the engagement and quitting your job, Chloe said, her tone dripping with magnanimity. But from now on, you can't interfere in my personal life. Bro, you should really take this chance Chloe is giving you, Julian added. Without her, you're nothing. How are you going to survive? No thanks, I replied calmly. You can keep those chances for yourself. You're unbelievable. Julian is trying to help you. And this is how you treat him? You're completely shameless, Julian. Let's go, Chloe huffed. We're done with him. But Chloe, Julian said, his voice oozing fake concern. Life will be so hard for him without you. Let him suffer, she snapped. After he's had a taste of the real world, he'll come crawling back. They finally left. It was perfect timing. My own plans were nearly complete. I terminated my lease, left the city, and severed every last tie to Chloe Lancaster. A year later, Sterling City crystal chandeliers cast shimmering reflections on the polished marble floors. I adjusted the sapphire cufflink on my wrist, my fingers tracing the subtle pattern of my bespoke charcoal suit. This global summit for top-tier medical corporations was the perfect stage for Helios Innovations to make its debut. Mr. Vance, the video conference with the Boston team is ready, my assistant Kevin said, hurrying over with a tablet. Medtronic's chairman wants to move up the unveiling ceremony for the Joint Research Lab to Ethan. A familiar voice, sharp as a rusty nail, cut through the air. I turned and saw Chloe Lancaster staggering slightly in her Christian Louboutin heels. The dress she wore was wrinkled, and the dark circles under her eyes were too deep for concealer to hide. Where have you been for the past year? I couldn't find you anywhere. You were here now. Julian, holding her arm, was still wearing his doctor's white coat, a glucose meter peeking out of the pocket. Well, what a coincidence. Looks like you landed a job as a greeter, Ethan, he said, glancing at the guest pass on my chest, a pitying smirk on his face. I heard things have been tough for you since you left, Chloe. Need me to help you find a better job? I glanced at my watch. 15 minutes until my keynote address. The conference staff was testing the simultaneous translation equipment, a mix of French and English echoing in a vast hall. Ms. Lancaster, I said, meeting her flickering gaze with a placid smile. I heard Lancaster Corp's medical supply division shrank by 40% last quarter. Your father threw a teacup across the boardroom, or so the rumor goes. My fingers lightly brushed against the worn metal clasp on her handbag, even having to use last season's limited edition Hermes. It seems the rumors are true. Chloe, snatch your hand back, bumping into Julian. His coat brushed against the check-in table, sending a stack of brochures scattering to the floor. Just because you're working a menial job at a high-end event doesn't give you the right to. Mr. Vance Charles Chun, the conference chairman, hurried over, cutting her off. He warmly shook my hand and gestured toward the media section. I must introduce you to the editor-in-chief of The Lancet. They are extremely interested in your AI-powered pathology diagnostic system. As the camera flashes erupted, I heard the sound of papers hitting the floor behind me. Chloe's trembling voice cut through the noise. Ms. Jenkins, give me the collaboration proposal with Helios Innovations. Now, wait a minute. What did you say the founder's name was? On a massive screen behind the stage, a promotional video for Helios Innovations began to play. An image of me standing in a state-of-the-art laboratory filled the entire wall. The glucose meter in Julian's hand clattered to the ground, its screen shattering like a spiderweb. "Thank you all for your generous welcome," I said, taking the microphone from the host. My eyes swept over the audience, lingering for a moment on the pale, shell-shocked faces of Chloe and Julian. Helios Innovations will be selective in choosing its partners, and the number one criterion for any Helios partner is a commitment to honoring contracts. The screen behind me switched to a photo of our signing ceremony with Johnson & Johnson. After all, I added with a slight smile, we don't appreciate partners who ditch a signing ceremony for a personal matter. Chloe's face went white. She remembered. I could see the resentment flash in her eyes. She thought I was being petty bringing that up here. 2 hours later, as the summit concluded, I was about to leave when I heard the frantic clicking of heels behind me. "Ethan," Chloe called out breathless. "Can we talk?" I stopped and turned. Her elegant makeup was smudged, and a thin sheen of sweat dotted her forehead. Julianne stood a few feet away, pale and leaning against a wall for support. "About what happened before. I'm truly sorry," Chloe said, biting her lip. "I tried to find you after. I really did. I know what I did was wrong. But Ms. Lancaster," I interrupted, "if you're here to talk about the past, there's no need. What's done is done. Who is right and who is wrong no longer matters." "It doesn't matter," she whispered as if to herself. "If there's nothing else, I have a flight to catch." "Wait, Ethan," she said, her tone shifting. "Congratulations on all your success. Now that you're the head of Helios Innovations, Lancaster Corp would like to propose a partnership. Julian, tell Ms. Jenkins to bring over the proposal." "That won't be necessary," I cut in. "If you're here to discuss business, please have your secretary submit the materials through the proper channels. My team will evaluate them. If there's a fit, we'll be in touch." Her face fell. "Ethan, do you have to be like this?" "Between us, there is no us anymore," I said coldly. "This is business. Please follow protocol." Julian stepped forward, his voice gentle but laced with reproach. "Ethan, I mean Mr. Vance. Chloe is sincerely trying to apologize. You can't let personal grudges get in the way of—" I couldn't help but laugh. "Personal grudges? Mr. Reed, have you mistaken me for someone else? I'm the CEO of Helios Innovations, not the lovesick fool you two used to order around." Chloe's eyes widened. "Ethan, can't you? For the sake of what we had." "Enough," I snapped. "What we had when you abandoned our engagement party for him. Did you think about what we had when you stood me up time and time again for him? Did you think about what we had?" Chloe looked dazed, lost in the memories. She took a step forward, reaching for my hand, but just as she was about to speak, Julian swayed, his face ashen. He clutched the wall. "Chloe, Julian," Chloe cried out, instantly spinning to support him. "What is it? Is it your blood sugar again?" I watched the all-too-familiar scene unfold, a cynical smile playing on my lips. Some things never change. "Ms. Lancaster, your best friend needs you. I won't keep you." With that, I turned and walked away. I could hear Chloe's panicked voice behind me. "Ethan, wait. Julian, hang in there. I'm taking you to the hospital right now." I didn't look back. I walked straight to my waiting car. The driver held the door for me, and as I settled into the plush leather seat, I let out a long breath. A dull ache throbbed in my chest, and I rubbed it absently. "Back to the office, Mr. Vance?" the driver asked. "No," I said, watching an ambulance speed past the window. "To the airport. I can't be late for the meeting in Boston." As the car pulled away, I took out my phone and sent a text to my assistant. From now on, all partnership proposals from Lancaster Corp are to be rejected without review. I sent the message, leaned back, and closed my eyes. This time, I could finally truly let go of the past. 9. Rain streamed down the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office. I was reviewing financial reports when the intercom buzzed. "Mr. Vance Lancaster is in conference room 1, my assistant Kevin said, his voice strained. "This is her third time this week." I glanced at the stack of contracts on my desk, the Medtronic logo gleaming in the ambient light. Give her 5 minutes. When I opened the door, I was hit by the strong scent of roses. Chloe was wearing the same white dress she'd worn on our first date, a cherry blossom clip in her hair. Even her nails were painted the pale pink shade I'd once bought for her. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. Her fingers traced the condensation on a Starbucks cup of Vinny Hot Hazelnut Macchiato, the same drink I used to buy her every day. Julian stood behind her, the glucose meter visible in his coat pocket. "Mr. Vance, Chloe hasn't eaten much these past few days. Lancaster Corp stock dropped another 17% last week," I said, my voice flat. "Instead of putting on this melodrama, perhaps you should be figuring out how to answer to your board of directors." Chloe flinched and the coffee cup clattered against its gilded saucer. "Ethan, I know you hate me, but please just give me a chance to make it up to you." She suddenly ripped off her pearl necklace, holding it out. The largest pearl was engraved with our initials. "Look, 3 years ago, I had this made. 3 years ago, I scoffed," I said, unlocking my phone. "Funny, at the charity gala last month, you were wearing a Cartier diamond choker." I showed her the screen. It was a photo from the event capturing her smiling as she adjusted Julian's bow tie. "You've been investigating me?" That was because, suddenly, Julian broke into a violent coughing fit, his fingers digging into the leather sofa. "Chloe, I think my blood sugar." I pressed the call button on my desk. 2 security guards entered immediately. "Take Mr. Red to the infirmary," I instructed, tossing his glucose meter at him. "And tell the procurement department to replace all the front desk meters with a new Helios model, the one with a built-in lie detector." "Ethan," Chloe shrieked, "are you trying to drive me to my grave?" Trembling, she pulled off her wedding ring and threw it at me. "You promised you would protect me for the rest of my life." The ring bounced silently on the carpet. I bent down, picked it up, and held it to the light. The inscription inside, Ivekel, was faded and worn, just like the vow she had so casually discarded. "You seem to have forgotten Ms. Lancaster," I said, tossing the ring into the wastebasket. "You sold this to a pawn shop 2 years ago. I was the one who bought it back." The metallic clink as it hit the bottom of the bin was jarringly loud. "Now I see that was a mistake. When did I ever sell this?" Chloe asked, completely bewildered. Julian suddenly pushed past the guards, a handful of glucose tablets spilling from his pocket. "Can't you just be the bigger person? Chloe is already humbling herself like this." "The bigger person?" I yanked open my collar, revealing the faint silvery scar just below my clavicle. A memento from the car crash that should have killed me. "Why don't you teach me, Mr. Reed? How exactly does one remain the bigger person while his fiancée is cheating on him?" The air in the room froze. Chloe collapsed onto the floor as if her spine had dissolved. The alarm on Julian's glucose meter began to blare. I straightened my suit and walked to the door. I paused and turned back. "Oh, and by the way, that German investment firm you've been chasing, they signed an exclusivity deal with us yesterday." Through the rain-streaked glass of the lobby, Chloe stumbled after me, trapped by the endlessly opening and closing automatic doors. By the time Julian ran out with a glucose syringe, she was screaming at my departing Maybach. "Ethan, come back." The screen inside my car lit up with a news alert. Helios Innovations leads investment in German pharma giant, puts Lancaster Corp at risk of hostile takeover. I lowered the window, letting the cool, damp air wash away the last lingering scent of roses. In the rearview mirror, Julian was kneeling in the rain, cradling a fainted Chloe in his arms. It looked just like a scene from our engagement party. The pain in my chest was getting more frequent. I needed to schedule a checkup, but first, it was time to go back to the family business. Vance Holdings headquarters scraped the clouds. I stood before the panoramic window in my father's office, gazing down at the sprawling city. I heard his steady footsteps behind me and turned to meet his gaze, tired but as sharp as ever. "Ethan," she said, her voice uncertain. I smiled at her. "Long time no see." Her eyes suddenly welled up. She walked over and punched me lightly on the shoulder. "You finally decided to come back." I ruffled her hair. "I'm sorry. I made you worry." "Who was worried about you?" she snapped, turning away. but I could see her shoulders trembling slightly. "If you ever do something that's stupid for that woman again." "I won't," I said softly. "Never again." A few days later, my father officially announced my return to Vance Holdings. The day after the announcement, Chloe Lancaster burst into my office at Helios Innovations. I was in the middle of signing the acquisition papers for the German pharmaceutical company. She slapped a contract bearing the Vance Holdings crest on my desk, her face as white as a sheet. "Ethan," she cried, "you've been lying to me all this time. You're the heir to Vance Holdings." I put down my pen and looked up at her. "Lying? Chloe, you were the one who pursued me. I never hid anything." But her voice began to tremble. "You told me you were from an ordinary family. Did I? Did I ever say that?" I stood up and walked to the safe, pulling out a thick stack of documents. At our engagement party, my parents were there. The entire Vance family was there. And all of this was all supposed to be for you. I spread the documents out on the desk. The equity partnership with the German pharma giant, the operating rights to 3 hospitals under the Vance umbrella, purchase orders for millions of dollars in jewelry. Every single document was stamped with the Vance Holdings seal, dated 1 year ago, the day of our engagement party. Chloe's fingers trembled as she touched the papers, fat tears splashing onto the pages. "Why? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I did," I said, my gaze steady. "That day, I asked you if you were sure you wanted to face the consequences of your choice. I gave you a chance. You chose Julian." She suddenly grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "But I didn't know. If I had known you were a Vance." "Then what?" I said, shaking her off. "If I were just some ordinary guy, you could trample all over my feelings without a second thought. Chloe, you don't love me. You love my status." She staggered backward, knocking over a tea set on the coffee table. The porcelain shattered on the floor with a deafening crash. Chloe stood there, makeup streaked by tears, her perfect hair in disarray. "I can explain," she choked out. "Julian, enough." I pressed the intercom. "Security, please escort my guest out." 2 guards entered, but Chloe suddenly threw herself at my feet, clinging to my leg. "Ethan, please give me one more chance. I promise I'll never." I looked down at the face that had once haunted my dreams, and now it was the face of a stranger. "You know, Chloe, my parents had a car full of gifts for you that day, parked in a hotel garage. They even had a custom-made diamond tiara for you, because you once told me you wanted to be my princess." Her sobs stopped abruptly. She looked up at me, her eyes wide and vacant. "What a shame," I said, gently prying her fingers from my leg, "because now that tiara is on someone else's head." The guards helped her up and led her, dazed and stumbling, out of my office. I walked to the window and watched her stagger out of the building below. The rain was coming down harder now. She stood in the downpour, staring up at my office window, just like she used to when she'd wait for me outside my dorm. Only this time, I wouldn't be coming down with an umbrella. The pain in my chest was getting worse. I made a mental note to have my assistant schedule a full physical. My phone vibrated. It was the signed confirmation from a German firm. I replied to the email, then fed the photo of Chloe and me into the shredder. As the paper turned to confetti, I saw the engagement party again. The guests, the flowers, the wine, and the tiara I never got to give her. But this time, I could finally turn away and smile. In the months that followed, I threw myself into my work. Guided by the memories of my past life, I navigated every market shift with precision. At a board meeting, I laid out a plan to expand into artificial intelligence and personally led the R&D team. "Mr. Vance, here's the latest market research report," my secretary said, placing a file on my desk. "Also, you have a meeting with investors at 3. I nodded and opened the report. A news headline caught my eye: "Lancaster Corporation multiple projects due to broken capital chain." It turned out that the disastrous real estate project we had abandoned had been picked up by them. I stared at the headline for a long time, only snapping out of it when my secretary reminded me about the meeting. The investors were already waiting. "Mr. Vance, so young and already so accomplished," one of them said with a smile. "I hear you're making big moves in the AI space." I smiled back, just trying to keep up with the times. The meeting was a success. The investors were very interested in our projects. Afterward, I stood at the window watching the sunset paint the city in shades of orange and red. The pain in my chest had been getting progressively worse, sometimes so bad it was hard to breathe. My last checkup showed nothing, and the doctor had chalked it up to stress, advising me to rest. Now that things were settling down, I planned to take his advice. My phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. "Ethan, can we please talk?" "It's Chloe." I deleted the message and blocked the number. In this life, I had a long road ahead of me, and some people were destined to be nothing more than ghosts of the past. "Mr. Vance Lancaster is here again," my assistant, Kevin, said, standing hesitantly at my office door. "She says she absolutely has to see you today." I put down my pen and rubbed my temples. I thought I made myself perfectly clear last time. Ever since Vance Holdings had announced its breakthroughs in AI, Chloe had been a persistent presence in my life. "Tell her I'm in a meeting," I said without looking up. But Kevin hesitated. "She said if she can't see you today, she'll wait downstairs indefinitely." I sighed and walked to the window. Down below, Chloe was a conspicuous figure in a white dress, the one from our first date, shivering in the cold wind. "Let her come up," I finally said. 5 minutes later, she was standing in my office. Her makeup was flawless, but her eyes held a weariness I'd never seen before. She was wearing Chanel, but all I could smell was the faint antiseptic odor of a hospital. Damn it. Ever since my last checkup, I kept smelling that scent, but no one else seemed to notice. It was like the pain in my chest. My scans were clear, but the agony was real. "Ethan," she began softly, "can we really not start over?" I looked at her and almost laughed. In my last life, I gave up everything for her and got death in return. This life, I finally saw her for who she was. "Chloe," I said calmly, "it's over between us." "Is it because of Julian?" she asked desperately. "I can cut ties with him." "Ethan, I know I was wrong. Please, just give me one more chance." "It's not about Julian," I interrupted. "It's because we are fundamentally incompatible. You don't need a partner, Chloe. You need a servant who revolves around you." The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Finally, she just lowered her head. "I understand." Watching her leave, I rubbed my aching chest and felt a surprising wave of relief. The chapter that had haunted me for 2 lifetimes was finally closed. Just then, my phone rang. It was Dr. Aries Thorne. "Mr. Vance." Her voice was crisp and cool. "The project team just had a breakthrough. Would you like to come see?" My energy surged. "I'm on my way." Aries was the lead scientist on our AI project and the most remarkable woman I'd ever met. She lacked Chloe's flashy drama, but possessed a captivating intelligence and focus. In a lab, she was calibrating a piece of equipment. She wore a simple white lab coat, her long hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her focus profile was softened by the lab's fluorescent lights. "Mr. Vance," she said, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. "We solved the algorithmic bottleneck. The system's learning efficiency has just tripled." I moved closer to examine the data, amazed. "This is incredible. This breakthrough puts us at least 2 years ahead of the competition." Aries smiled faintly. "We have you to thank for that. If you hadn't insisted on increasing the R&D budget, we never would have gotten here this quickly." We shared a smile, and in that moment, the sterile air of the lab seemed to warm. But as we were celebrating our success, a news alert came through. Lancaster Corp had officially declared bankruptcy. Chloe stood in the empty chairman's office, watching movers haul out the last piece of furniture. Priceless works of art were now just junk in cardboard boxes. Her beloved Swarovski crystal chandelier had been taken down, revealing a stained, peeling ceiling. Her phone vibrated. It was a text from Julian. "Chloe, I'm sorry. I have to go to the U.S. Johns Hopkins offered me a research position." She stared at the screen, her nails digging into the glass. Just 3 days ago, she'd seen him having dinner at a Michelin star restaurant with a hospital director's daughter. "Julian," she screamed, storming into his office at the hospital. He was packing his desk, his white coat replaced by a brand new Armani suit. "Chloe," he frowned at her disheveled appearance. "What are you doing here?" "You're leaving." Her voice was shrill. "You're leaving me now when I need you most." Julian sighed, shoving a final file into his briefcase. "Chloe, we're not kids anymore. Lancaster Corp is bankrupt. I have to think about my future. Your future? She sneered. When you collapsed from low blood sugar, who rushed you to the ER in the middle of the night? Who bought you the best insulin pump? Who? Enough, he yelled. Wake up, Chloe. Did you really think I was in love with you? If your father wasn't the chairman of Lancaster Corp, I wouldn't have given you a second look. Chloe stumbled backward, knocking over a picture frame on his desk. It was a photo of them from high school. Julian, smiling so tenderly. You, she stammered. You were using me? He adjusted his tie, his voice like ice. What do you think? Did you honestly believe I could be attracted to a woman who is constantly orbiting some other man? Ethan was right about you. You're just... Shut up. She grabbed a coffee mug and hurled it at him. Brown liquid splattered across his new suit. He wiped at the stain with disgust. You're insane. He picked up his briefcase. Oh, and good news for you. Ethan's company, Helios Innovations, just acquired Johns Hopkins. So, I guess I'm his employee now. He paused at the door and looked back. By the way, that ring of yours, I was the one who pawned it. You said I could pick any gift I wanted, so you can't blame me for that. Then he turned and hurried away. Chloe collapsed, watching him leave without a backward glance. A tidal wave of regret washed over her. She had thrown away Ethan, the man who had loved her, the man she had loved for this. Her phone screen was still lit up with a news alert. Vance Holdings heir and Helios Innovations CEO Ethan Vance announced his engagement to German pharmaceutical Ares. The accompanying photo showed Ethan gently placing a magnificent diamond-encrusted tiara on his fiancée's head. Chloe finally understood that was supposed to have been hers. She shakily dialed Ethan's number only to be met with a cold, automated voice. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Outside the window, a massive digital billboard was broadcasting a press conference for a new drug. Ethan stood in the spotlight, the picture of a confident, successful man. And she was here, curled up in a corner of a hospital, a discarded doll. Ethan, she whispered to the empty room. If I hadn't listened to Julian, if I hadn't left the engagement party, would things be different? But there are no do-overs in life. Just like the tiara, once you let it go, it's gone forever. 12:47 a.m. emergency room hallway. Chloe's heels echoed a frantic rhythm on the linoleum floor. Her Hermes scarf flapped. For the third time, she tried to push past the nurse, her manicured nails scratching at the glass of the trauma room door. The patient is coding. Ma'am, you cannot interfere, the doctor shouted, his voice stopping everyone in their tracks. The piercing shriek of the heart monitor sliced through the frosted glass, a rusty saw grinding on raw nerves. Chloe crumpled to the floor. Mascara streamed down her face in black rivers. Her phone buzzed. Another missed call from Julian and then silence. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, she sobbed to no one. I shouldn't have made you come get me. What have I done? The guilt was a physical force, a crushing weight of regret for the demand that had led to this. Patients' pupils are fixed and dilated. Charging to 200. Clear. Family can come in now, a doctor said, pushing the door open. The stars overhead twinkled, then swelled into blinding lights, blurring like rain, like strobes. They started moving backward faster and faster. The frantic noise around me faded to an eerie silence. I tried to look up, but my body wouldn't respond. My chest still ached. None of it felt real. It was all so vivid. I'm so tired. I just want to sleep. After a timeless moment, Chloe's flushed and frantic face swam into my vision, blocking out the stars. Why was she here? She grabbed my hand. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I should have believed you. I shouldn't have doubted you. Ethan, please hang on. We'll go home together. Her words dragged me back to a horrifying reality. I was on a gurney. The stars were surgical lights. The familiar cloying smell of disinfectant filled the air. A deep, bone-crushing exhaustion washed over me. The pain in my chest was a dull, constant throb, begging me to give in, to just close my eyes and sleep. Talk to him, a woman's voice said to Chloe. It sounded like Ares. His will to live is weak. Keep talking. Even if you have to lie, give him a reason to fight. I don't know what happened. I was just making a turn when I saw his car. He suddenly veered right and went straight off the overpass. I pulled over immediately and called 911. Okay, sir. We may have more questions for you later. Keep your phone on. Yes, officer. The voices from outside the room drifted in and out. Were they talking about me? An overpass? No. This has to be a dream. I'm in Germany on a beach in Dam, soaking up the sun. How could I be hearing this? How could I be seeing Chloe? I just need to sleep. When I wake up, I'll be back on the sand. Ethan, I'm sorry. Chloe's voice trembled beside me. I shouldn't have made you come get me. I had no idea you'd been drinking. It's all Julian's fault, that bastard. He told me you were just making excuses because you didn't want to pick him up. I thought you were lying to me. That's why I got so angry. I love you, Ethan. Don't leave me, Ethan. I'm pregnant. You're going to be a father. Did you hear me? We're having a... Her voice buzzed in my ear, a hypnotic drone growing fainter and fainter, pulling me down into the darkness. Julian, Chloe. Drinking, driving. My memory was a shattered mess. Fragments of the past few hours flashed before my eyes like a corrupted slideshow. Ethan, come get me and Julian. Are you jealous again? What would you possibly be drinking at home? Stop lying and making excuses. A voice screamed through the phone. Chloe, it's fine if Ethan doesn't want to come. A passive-aggressive voice whined. I know he doesn't like me. I don't want him to misunderstand our relationship. What is there to misunderstand? He's the one with the problem. He's just jealous and insecure. No, Ethan, I don't care if you're drunk. You'll come get us tonight. If you don't, we're getting a divorce. A blinding light. The world spinning. The car flying toward the moon. So that's what just happened. Maybe Germany. The revenge. Helios Innovations. Maybe it was all just a final fleeting dream. A fantasy spun in the moments between life and death. But why did it feel so real? The doctor trying to save me. She looked just like Ares. And the nurses, they look like Kevin and Charles Chun. Their faces obscured by surgical masks rushing around me. It doesn't matter. If this is the end, then there's nothing left to hold on to. I'm so tired. I just want to rest. Let me sleep. Patient has no pupillary response. 4. Line is in. The wheels of the gurney rattled. Someone was counting in my ear. My memory's fractured. The chandeliers of the engagement party, the Helios logo, the bright lights of Ares's lab, all flashing and fading. Maybe being reborn was the dream all along. The flat, unending tone of the heart monitor. No, Ethan. A gut-wrenching scream tore through the emergency room. 24.